What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and don't let that energy fool you guys. Today we got a little bit of a downer of a video. These are going to be 10 games that I picked, my top 10 games that are failed already. They're new games that are already not doing great. In fact, one of them already shut down, and I expect more to follow. Or go, switch to free-to-play or something, I don't know. But regardless, whatever they try to do to salvage these titles, I don't think it's really going to work. So these are 10 games that actually, for all of them, I was kind of excited about them, and I did videos on them at one time or another. So I've actually played these games, and as what I would have been a fan, so as a fan at the beginning, now turned more than just skeptic. This is just literal objective. Hey guys, these games, the numbers, they're not good. It is not performing as it should, and for how hyped these games were. So that's how they're ranked, based on, how hyped they were, how hyped I was, how hyped you were, and in the end, what exactly turned out. So let's see how they did turn out. Let's go. Top 10 new games that are already dead. Yep, starting out the list, here we got Gloria Victis. Now, this was a game that I didn't expect to do well, but I expected it to have a player base at least, especially being free to play. Now, there's some other games in the genre out there that try to do something similar. So this is essentially a survivally hardcore PvP kind of game, but without a lot of the survival aspects. I'm just kind of saying, like, reminiscent to like Ark or something like that, Rust. The Gloria Victis is a medieval melee game. It's focused on PvP. It's supposed to be kind of like an MMO, but I don't know what the player count really is for Gloria Victis, so anyways, turns out it's just really clunky, and all the updates that promised it to be really good-like ended up not being really good-like. So I think you could still have fun with it if you're really hardcore and you can look past a lot of the glaring faults, but what you can't look past is going to be the population. And in a game like this, you need a population. Again, it lacks a lot of PvE, it lacks a lot of survival aspects, so you can't really just do it alone or kind of do it co-op or, just little skirmishes here and there. This is meant to be a big PvP game, and without that big PvP, it just is kind of an empty shell of itself. But let's go ahead and move on and talk about Reflex Arena. Now, my review for this is completely centered around the population on day one. The day one release of Reflex Arena had basically no players. I found like one half-full game, kind of, and yeah, anyway, so Reflex Arena, it's an arena shooter, and we expect those to be niche. Quake Champions is doing okay, and there's been some other games that have claimed to be arena shooters, some of them on this list, but they weren't really arena shooters. Regardless, I think that as long as there's unique concepts, and it's refreshing, and it's really high quality, we can get some players. But honestly, in my opinion, I think Reflex Arena was kind of half-assed. It was just kind of a one-to-one clone of a mod from Quake. I don't care. That's the people who made the mod. Basically, there was nothing really truly innovative, and the graphics and everything were really simplistic. I actually kind of like that part of it. I don't think it really sold the game, but in the end, it actually had sound issues, and it wasn't a perfect game. What it needed to be a perfect game, a perfect competitive game, it actually had issues. So it kind of launched to, we'll just keep playing Quake, or hey, there's a new Quake on the horizon. There's other arena shooters. We'll wait it out. We'll play some other games in the meantime. I think that's kind of what the community felt, and will continue to feel about half-assed arena shooters. Alright guys, next game we have is The Amazing Eternals. Now, this was a sort of like card game hero shooter. If you guys ever played the alpha of Paladins where you drew random cards, it's kind of like that. So you make a deck of potential cards with your character, unique to your character, you jump into a game, and you capture points, stuff like that. You have all the different characters, tanks and healers and stuff, and you draw random cards with silly weapons. I felt like everything about this game was really just not living up to the potential. If you really stretch your imagination, The Amazing Eternals could have looked really cool. Actually, I kind of like the alpha of Paladins, but even Paladins, as slapstick as that is, was like, okay, this isn't good enough. We can't focus on this sort of gameplay. The Amazing Eternals did even worse than that, and yeah, not only that, but netcode and all that, the polish was just horrible. And Digital Extremes was totally ready to sell this to us, which they literally were selling it to us, and they already had their monetization scheme in place, and they called it a beta, which means it was actually almost ready to release, but if you played it, it was so not ready for release. I mean, balancing issues and basically all the issues, every issue you could imagine basically was inside the game. It was kind of a cool concept, but it wasn't Fiesta enough for their party sort of gimmick that they were trying to go for. And I basically did multiple videos really ranting on this game. This was a bad game. It was not good, and I really want to shame Digital Extremes for trying to sell this game to us. However, I'm glad that they are shutting it down. I mean, it sucks when games have to be shut down, but really, in my opinion, this was a cash grab, and it was kind of a lazy attempt at one. And we all saw it, and that's why nobody played it, and that's why The Amazing Eternals was not amazing nor eternal. All right, my dudes, coming up next on the list, we have Project Genome, or Genome. It's missing an E, I don't know. Anyways, this was supposed to be more of like a sincere attempt at what Firefall was trying to do. Now, I actually really enjoyed Firefall through all the horrible development issues that it had, but now Project Genome actually had way, way worse. There was a little bit of controversy, not really gonna get into it, but it was basically like developers were fighting, maybe some money wasn't going where it needed to go, blah, 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 and apparently, like, just shit went down, okay? But Project Genome apparently came back and, like, development continued, but from my experience playing the game, even when people were like working on it originally, ooh, it was not great. I liked the idea, but it was like, seriously, I played students games when I was in college for game design. It was like that. It was like, you know, high schoolers' first MMO, like a bunch of high schoolers making their first game and it being an MMO. It had some cool ideas, but it just like, that's all it was, and that's all it sold itself as. But maybe now it's a cool game, but I don't think people have trust in the development team and in the idea any longer. Next up on the list, we have The Culling. Now, I did not personally play through, apparently, the culling of the culling. Basically, all the players, like, it was pretty hype for a while, just dropped. I don't know what update that was. I just played in the beginning. There was, you know, I was playing with some friends, and it was neat. You know, and I was watching a lot more streams than actually playing because it was kind of a complex game. But I think from the gist of things, it's just like basically the developers just threw in random updates and nobody liked it. Like originally, the idea was just complex enough, and it just kind of worked just well enough. And it was different enough from everything else that everyone wanted to play it. You know, it was kind of a smaller big team battle game that had a kind of a focus on melee actually, and like crafting different items and things, but then just stuff went down. I don't know, everyone stopped playing, so I stopped playing, and I just kind of completely forgot about it. So here's me remembering The Culling, I guess. I thought it was a cool idea, but if you guys want to see a game kind of similar to The Culling, I think we can look forward to Xbox's or Microsoft's Darwin project actually, which is kind of like a spiritual successor to a game that never even succeeded. Let's talk about Hyper Universe. Now, I've already talked about the downfall of this game, and as well, I hyped up Hyper Universe a lot, actually, in my first impressions, and I think a lot of people who were interested in this game were interested in it for the same reasons I was. Like, the art was great, it was a cool, gimmicky game, it's a 2D MOBA fighting game sort of thing. It had interesting, like, archetypes of abilities and their, you know, the character kits. It was interesting. You know, basically, it was kind of like Awesomenauts with waifus, or anime Awesomenauts, and Awesomenauts still, you know, had a player base, at least, but Hyper Universe, before even releasing, just made a lot of publishing errors, especially, here's the biggest one, the hardcore fan base really felt like the art was being perverted with censorship. Yeah, if that makes sense. Essentially, they were turning off breast physics, and they were, you know, kind of covering up some things, and really the game was supposed to be sexualized. It was supposed to be kind of a more mature game in some ways, and it was supposed to target a certain demographic, and then they just kind of failed. You know, it didn't launch as a free-to-play in beta. It's like 16 bucks to buy in, and there's just a number of publishing issues for this game that made it bad. It was a cool game, and it could have improved and been a better game, and I liked it. I hyped up Hyper Universe, but in the end, it just didn't sell itself well enough to the audience that wanted to care. Okay, now another game that I'm really disappointed in. Mirage Arcane Warfare. Here is another I told you so game, where literally I did a pre-impressions, which I don't do those often, only for games that I'm excited for. But Mirage Arcane Warfare is in the brawler genre that I really wanted to succeed, stuff like For Honor, things like that, but it had magic. It's actually from the makers of Chivalry, so it's supposed to be Chivalry with magic, but it ended up being really more of like a melee Overwatch done by high schoolers. It was really slow-paced. In my pre-impressions, I complained about every issue that everyone else complained about, and you could immediately see it in the trailers. I was like, huh, this looks really slow-paced, this looks really sluggish, and basically, I think this is gonna kill the game. And the developers even responded in the comments of that video, which surprisingly enough, they're like, no, we're gonna fix this. Don't worry, it's gonna be fast-paced, it's gonna be awesome. No, it's still slower than Chivalry, it's still sluggish as hell, and nobody plays it because of it. It just doesn't work. It had cool ideas, you know, cool kits. It's kind of a melee hero shooter with magic, and yeah, you know, it could be a cool thing, but in the end, it just fell so flat. And I think it's really all because of how slow the game plays. It does not feel good to play. And actually, a little note on optimization, probably not optimized that great either. So in the end, it just underperformed wholly for the PC crowd, which this game apparently was made for. I don't know, maybe it would have done better on Xbox. Yeah, this one's actually a heartbreaker. I pre-ordered this. I hyped up the game a lot. I was given alpha access and everything. In fact, I refused to play the alpha because for my first impression stream, I really want my impressions to be raw first impressions. I'm a purist with that. I want you guys to see my reactions. In my stream, I did 1 hour and I basically never smiled. I did not get any enjoyment. As somebody who was a huge fan going into this, hyped up the game, I put it in top 10s, all that good stuff. Remember, all these games, I was like, yo, dude, these are some cool, interesting games, right? But then you actually get into them. Absolver was supposed to be kind of like this Dark Soulsian PvP kind of game, and it was supposed to have like this vague, sort of world that you can go explore. Nope, couldn't really explore shit. There is open world PvP, and the PvP overall, just, oh my god, horrible peer-to-peer garbage. And you're supposed to be able to kind of like, with Kung Fu, you're supposed to like have all these different stances and kind of make your own combos. Not really. Actually, the creativity is incredibly stifled, and yeah, that's really all I can say. Essentially, you can have more creativity with your gameplay in Dark Souls, kind of spamming just a few abilities, versus Absolvers. It's so locked, it's so stagnant, and in a 3D game, you want mobility, you want movement. And in Dark Souls, hell yeah, you can do that. In For Honor, you can do that. There's so much you can do in For Honor, even though that's a very limited game. In Absolver, when it's selling itself on creativity and everything about it, and exploration and all that, and it's just even more limiting, and it has less production value, and it's not as stable with its netcode, and it's basically a worse version of all those games. Like, if you played For Honor or Dark Souls and you had a bad experience, just throw that into Absolver. Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually, I think. So, I was a fan. The game didn't sell well. The player base that did buy it didn't really do much with it, and as... Again, another brawler game. I wanted this to succeed so bad. I love brawlers. I love Dark Souls PvP, but even people who love Dark Souls PvP noped right out of Absolver. Yeah, so in a list filled with I told you so's, Gigantic actually was not a game I expected to completely fail. And if you look at its history on Steam, it actually did pretty good. And remember, Gigantic is split between two player bases. Like, you got the Windows and Xbox, they're cross-platform, and then you have Steam playing with the Arc users. So, I mean, it's the same thing, basically. So, anyways, Gigantic is a freaking awesome game. I love it, but it has some seriously game-breaking issues that they refuse to fix. And immediately I can say that they did not keep the hype alive. And it's kind of not their fault. See, Gigantic is a good game, and if it launched on schedule, and if they just, fully produced the game from start to finish, it would be great. But the issue is that there was actual gaps in production. There was gaps in development. There was basically no news, no updates, nothing of Gigantic because they lost their publisher, Microsoft, and a bunch of games actually completely died because of that. But Gigantic, actually, some of the developers apparently worked for free there. And in fact, I like Gigantic so much, and it was so close to my heart that I applied. And I was in talks with their recruiter to be a game capture artist. But in the end, well, we saw what happened. A lot of people got fired. A lot of people had to work for free, apparently. And yeah, Gigantic just had development hell. And it finally came out. And when it did come out, actually, it had a player base. But because they couldn't churn out content fast enough, they didn't have enough maps, they didn't have enough diversity in the characters, and then of course all the polish issues, which they never were able to polish the game, like 60 FPS caps in a shooter game, in a really fast-paced shooter, and then just glitches abound, and again, not enough content with the characters, and in my opinion, not enough balance and diversity with the characters. It just didn't have the AAA quality that it was supposed to have. And because they, they had that animation quality, they had this game quality that played so fast, I don't think they were able to keep up with it. So they have added new characters, they have added a new map, but I think it's too little, too late. The hype is no longer alive. For a game that I loved, it's now dead. I didn't see it coming, but then again, I mean, at least the game did exist. At least we did play it, and I think it was beautiful while it lasted. All right, and the final game we have is Lawbreakers, another game that I was constantly refreshing their page to actually apply for, but I don't know, they weren't hiring for the positions I wanted. Regardless, I just wanted to kind of inject a little bit of personality there, guys. Just so you know, I really wanted these games to succeed, but Lawbreakers is a game that I told you so. I played it, I had fun with it, and oh my god, did it have some issues. Now, a lot of people I actually did whole videos on Lawbreakers, why it failed, multiple videos. But basically, guys, Lawbreakers really marketed itself as an arena shooter when technically it's not an arena shooter. It's a hero shooter that That's basically it. It plays fast. Arena shooters aren't just shooters that are fast. Anyways, so Lawbreakers marketed itself poorly. Its publishing was poor. It's a Nexon game. It's garbage publication, okay? So Lawbreakers also had some graphic issues. It wasn't optimized that great either, and a lot of the characters were just frankly bland. Like the graphics, the way the game looked, and essentially that leads into how the game sold itself, essentially made it to where nobody really knew what the fuck was going on when they played, before they even played, what even really is this game, and who are these characters? Should I even care? I think some people like the robot husbando and maybe the assassin waifu, but for the most part, the characters are bland, the graphics are bland, the gameplay is cool, like the gimmick of the gameplay, but when you actually get in the optimization and the way like all the graphics kind of bleed together, it's so hard to see what's going on in this game that's so fast, it just didn't really have that competitive edge. And a lot of people just did not have fun with it, despite, you know, on paper it sounding really cool, and that it is a cool gimmick. I like it a lot. I mean, that's why I did a video on every single class, and that's why I hyped it up, put it in top 10s. But when you actually really get into the game and you try to master it, there's just so many glaring polish issues that really stop you. And then before you even get into the game, of course, Nexon, you just did the most garbage publication. And also, Cliff Bleszinski did not do a good job. The Dark Souls of competitive shooters, fuck me sideways. What does that even mean, dude? Like, what? Lawbreakers, you failed. It's over. GG. Maybe go free to play, and maybe you'll have some players still playing. But there were days where it looked like 0 players were playing at a time. So, rip. Okay, friends, I know it's a little bit long-winded for a top 10. I tried to keep it at 10 minutes. We kind of went over that by 5 minutes, but hopefully you still enjoyed the video. You know, I understand that some of these games are very low population. I'm not saying you can't actually jump into these games and have a little bit of fun, but most likely not. And in some cases, you literally won't actually be able to jump in and find anybody, or you probably won't have fun. No matter what these games look like on paper, how fun they might seem. In fact, all these games on paper seemed really cool ideas. I agree. That's why I hyped them up, and that's why the hype died. But I just wanted to let you guys know what games came out recently or were about to come out and then really in the end just completely failed. Hopefully I didn't break any hearts here. You know, if a game you really, really liked on here and I said some harsh things, but in my opinion, I feel like this list is actually pretty objective because all of it is statistically tracked. So yeah, all these games failed. And of course, it's a little bit of conjecture why they failed, but let me know in the comments below. Why do you think these games failed? And do you think certain genres are just doomed to fail, like arena shooters? Let me know, guys. And if there's any game that is in a genre that is kind of waning, let me know if there's a game that's coming out that you're excited for, because I'm excited for the arena shooter Diabolical. I think that's going to be cool. But regardless, guys, keep having fun, or trying to, attempting to, do your best, okay? Keep that hype alive. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you next time.